good afternoon, I think, from Al Qurbi, and you can find my works and any sort of questions you may have about volunteering here on the farm at www.solteriologicgarden.com. SOLTERIOLOGIC garden, one word.com. Well, I don't know if you can recognise the spot, but I am on a toilet seat, and this is the compost toilet, and I'm just about to start commencing with the structure of the roof. And it's a project I've been waiting for volunteers to come along and contribute to, because I feel it would be a good education tool. But as things go, I've come across my materials and I'm going to raise the roof. Literally. I have a crown which is a part of an old yurt, and if you can look just to the side of my right hand shoulder, you will see the doorway which was salvaged from that previous yurt I used to have, which had slowly rotted. And as much as I do want to salvage everything, the rest of the yurt is scattered about the farm doing various other duties. But the door frame is here, and the crown is just beneath my feet, and this video is going to show you how I'm going to create a funky superstructure that you can enjoy sitting down and have a poo at the same time. Okay, so this is the area on the raised platform where the toilet is situated, and what I'm actually going to do here is raise a crown which will then be fixed from all sides by the original roof ribs of the old yurt I used to have, which has been recycled. And the crown has has a hole in the middle as such, and I have a particular idea to place a stained glass window inside it. I've yet to find it. It's packed away after 20 years of non-use. It was originally a gift for my parents, but that would be the funky part of the project, to actually see above my head what we call a caricature maybe of Dante's The Thinker, and instead of the thinker, the actual image is being called the thinker, and it was made by a mason who was a friend of mine at the time and given to me as a gift, but I helped design it with the Catalonian landscape behind it. So that's something to look forward to maybe at the end of this video. The roof ribs will themselves contribute to the structure, so they are structural, but I was a little bit worried about trying to get it all woven and established without it collapsing, so I've gone out my way to buy 5-meter long beams that I am going to screw into the joists which are underneath the pallet floor and protrude upwards, where the stained glass window will be pointing towards the sun, hopefully, in the south. But let's just focus now on this area, which is going to have 2 vertical beams sticking up in the air to be able to hold this roof crown up. So take a look at this. This is an old wagon wheel, probably used to be part of a gasworks or waterworks, where they used to contain the roll of whatever piping that they used to have. And around the outside is the old crown, which is rotting away, so I've had to fix it in with L plates at every point to ensure that I can lock it into place to this wagon wheel. And if you can imagine, the on the old roof ribs, they've got holes all the way around for them to fit into. So to give you an idea, it's going to be 5 meters high almost from the ground below me, which is about 1 meter, and that's going to go sticking up in the air like that, with the roof ribs coming out the side, and a big stained glass window of the finca up there pointing towards the south sun. Now I have to make sure that the 5 meter beams coming up from the ground are not going to get in the way when you walk into this structure. And so I'm also thinking about how to incorporate them into, say, creating a second poo hole, maybe in a Turkish style, or a place to fix an outdoor sink, or some shelving or something like that. Yes, I'm always thinking about multi uses. Okay, I'm pretty certain I know where the first beam's going to come up, and then it's a case of playing around and offering up the second beam to see the most appropriate place. And there I have my first gap for the first beam to come up, and it looks a very appropriate place. So the good thing about not doing something overnight is new ideas are generated, and sometimes the solution can take months to be realised. And I don't want to start cutting away the pallets and then find I've made holes everywhere and I can't use them. So I'm pretty certain that I've got the right spot for the first beam, which is coming up there. Literally, as you're walking through one doorway here, I'm going to have a beam here. This one's called 2-0. Or if you're walking in through this doorway, I'm going to have a beam there. And I'm going to be sitting down over here. So I have to think about this second beam a lot. But let's first get that beam in there and see how it looks. Okay, so I've just put the first beam in, and I quickly took it out because I realised it's so high that I wouldn't be able to get the roof crown up. And so I start putting lots of ladders here and pulling it up one side of me. So, take that off a minute. I'm going to put the roof crown down now so I can just slide it up afterwards, and there's a good reason for that, because it may be that I can't find a good location for the second beam, and so I'm going to have to sort of splay the beams outwards or splay them inwards. I'm not really sure which way until I offer it up, you see. So let's do that. Put this beam in, and there's a incredibly tight fit down there on the joists underneath the pallets, so I'm very happy with that. I'm just going to put a few screws into it, and there's hardly any play in it, so this first beam is really the fixing point. Rough one, ages old. sentinels in the landscape, gnawed and twisted, limbs torn asunder. What war cries evoke these centurions of our time? 1,000 years of living, the human battle lies. Proud earth and tethered horse have passed as giants by. Cold steel and gunpowder could not remove their sight. Amid the shouts of wounded soldiers, they stood for justice bright. Lit up the skyline in dark, silhouetted forms to shadow men's demise. Right, and there we have it. You can see it. I don't want the end of the roof being to sit on the ground because that will draw moisture up. I mean, there are quick solutions to that as well. I mean, there's a big pile of biochar just next to the compost area. I can just easily sit it in biochar, and that should prevent any insects from eating it away. They live to the slow pace of earth revolving around the sun. The trunks are like the axis that spins the world to pan. Spirits of the world unite throughout the seasons turn. Rise up, you bees, upon God's word, and gather your content. So just a couple of screws to hold that in. There's a little bit of play there. And I begin to imagine, you see, I put something in, you offer it up, and you begin to imagine. As I say, that first beam is quite, it has very, very little room to play with, and so that's almost in its final position. It's the second one which I need to consider now, where am I going to cut the hole in the pallet floor so that beam can protrude through it without being in the way. And what am I going to do with this roof crown? Well, I don't want it just directly looking up into the sky. I want it actually to maybe have some adjustment in it, but inclined, as you would a solar panel, towards the high noon sun in the south. So I've decided that rather than have the crown of the roof almost directly above me where I'm sitting on the toilet seat, I realised that the second beam would just be in the way as you enter the doorway, and rather than have the crown somewhere near the middle of the pallet structure, I'm actually going to have it off to one side, a bit like a floppy magician's hat. So the crown, as you can see in front of you right now, is going to move over in this direction, and the second beam is now going to come up through here. So I'm going to take this section of pallet out and pallet wood out, but then I realised that, and this only comes from playing with materials really, I realised that if I take this section out, it's going to really weaken this small pallet on the edge of the pallet floor. So I am going to bring in the walls slightly so that this can take more of the weight. The pallet beside it can take more of the weight, and to be able to do that, I'm cutting sections of it off so I can draw the pallets in closer. So there we go. Okay, with that done, I'm going to take out these fixing screws. Right, I had a problem with one of the screws there. The head was damaged, so I just had to cut it, get it out of the way so I can, as you can see, bring these in. So it's not a huge amount, and but I have the option, if I want to, bring in just a touch more. I wouldn't mind actually. Now that's more like it. Means I firmly got this pallet wall on both the floor pallets here. Now what I've got to do is screw the lot in. Okay, with that pallet here, it's only a small pallet, reinforced, I'm going to now take out this section so that the vertical beam can fit through there. Let's go. You may argue just pulling out the whole thing, but I'll tell you something, yeah, when they make pallets they put these incredible one-use nails in there, which if you try to pull them out and rip them out, you just rip the wood to pieces. So I'll just leave that little section in there, slide this out the way even, maybe just move it over there somewhere. But these nails are non-reusable. That's why they stick them in pallets. Alright, so let's get the beam in. So I hope this gives you a better idea. Have a look around. So that's the roof crown. And I'm going to give you an example of how a roof rib fits into it. Now this is a rotten old roof rib. And this is how yurt roof crown is actually mounted. And basically you have these slots here, you see. Now you have to imagine this roof crown is going to be another 2 meters high, higher than this point. So all of these roof ribs, which I have down here, made of ash, been around for a good 20 years, 25 years. I'm just basically gonna create the framework and structure woven with cane and then overgrown with smelly plants, aromatic plants, and maybe food plants. So I'm doing this by myself, and if I just go around a little bit, you will see that I've tied some ropes to the tree there, and that was an hour alone climbing up, and one of the ropes broke, so I had to go and do it again, and then just suspending it whilst I reinforce it gradually, and I put in some strong brackets up the top there. I've slightly changed my approach to it from the last time, and I've got this post here now which I've got to cut to size, which was far too long, would never work, and was maybe slightly in the wrong place. So wish me luck. You can see what I've done. Maybe I had to fix up one side of the ring or the crown with two sets of ropes, one which snapped, so I had to repair that, and that took about an hour, as I say, and then climb the ladder and push the whole crown up with the first post in place through the middle, and then I fixed some brackets up there to support this side. So I've got rope supporting one side of the crown, brackets supporting this side. Obviously I'm going to reinforce it more just as soon as I get my orientation right. Well, there we have it. I'm hoping you can hear the wind. Again, I'm using some sort of reverse principle here, and that is, if I can construct this this roof in quite a strong wind, then I feel as though it's going to survive the duration when it's complete. So that's the idea. Strange philosophy, I know, but that's the way I think sometimes. We get the wind every time we get the rain, basically, and my wind turbine over there, which you may be able to hear in the distance, is doing a good service. But let's get on with this before the whole structure comes tumbling down, and just get some brackets up on the second post, and then I'm going to have to fix it into the joists which these pallets are sitting on.
Make ready for the taking of what is duly offered, the power to defeat the oppressors of society's shackled lives. Your instinct is all conquering, omniscient and devout. Upon you lies an eternal will against which no one can stand. Your past will ground out of the soil, a weather-beaten toil that gave you girth to mine. The uncompromising wind, magnificent grandeur you have become. Your leaves are partaking. To clothe this naked, tender flesh of our alien planetary ship. They live to the slow pace of Earth revolving around the sun. Their trunks are like the axis that spins the world Japan. For the world unite throughout the season's turn. Rise up, you beast, and find God's word and carry your cat in hand. Rise up, you beast, find God's world, and carry your cat to hand.
You're beginning to get the idea, but the orientation's wrong. It's really got to be facing towards the south that way. It's facing that way. So I'm going to have to maybe unscrew it and push it round, push the ring round the other way a bit more, yeah? Okay, this is a great shot. As you can see, I've got some sort of tilt heading over there towards the end of the food tunnel with the arc, and that gives me my compass point, which is east. Obviously, if you're putting a stained glass window in here, the window should really be vertical so that you catch the rising sun. Obviously, I mean, there are means to do that with other projects, but in this particular one, I like the idea of just being able to look upwards when I'm sitting down on the toilet seat, even though I don't spend that much time there. But I'll just give you some more detail before I take my welcome drinks break. And I've reinforced it with these roof ribs, which are made of ash, and they must be coming up to 30-40 years old. Treated here with diesel and spent motor oil, but before that they would have been covered in a yurt, so they would have been waterproofed and wouldn't have been exposed so much to the elements. But they're wonderful material to work with. The wood is so flexible. I mean, I didn't make these, I bought this yurt, but they use it for cricket bats, and just like willow, because it has that flexibility in the wood, and to be able to get the curvature here, because you have to imagine this is the side of the yurt wall, well, would have been the side of the yurt wall here, and then that curvature will bring up the wood to the crown, to the point. And they do it just by soaking it when it's green and bending it into shape, fixing it into that shape over a period of days, so that when it dries out, the molecules within the wood itself has permanently deformed, and that's how they curve wood, you see. But just having a look at this, it's just something I've got to do today in case the wind picks up again. And as you can see, that's the post coming out, and there's the joist underneath the pallet. So it's in my interest to cut that in to join the post to the joist, and that will ensure that the post doesn't sway from left to right. And it really makes sense when you're actually building to be able to do that. So I'm going to put a spirit level to it, and then I'm going to cut section in here so that that sits nicely inside there and cannot move in this direction with the wind. And also on this side. Okay, so this is what I was referring to earlier. This joist here, a reclaimed floor joist, is in fact quite twisted, and in order for the post to be able to fit in there comfortably and to offer full strength to the structure above it, I need to take out here the wood and have these wonderful chisels, wood chisels, which you can take out quite huge sections of it. You can see now how much closer I am to the wood, and that's not going to move in that direction because I have a buffer, and that was the idea. Now, a good green woodworker wouldn't need to use a file. Basically, that's when you're making a finished product, then you may use a little bit of sandpaper, but a green woodworker will manipulate these tools very well, so long as they're sharp. I'm not saying I'm experienced at all, but this sort of stuff is how you begin. This is where you start, just learning to use your tools and not relying on anything electrical. So the whole project has been rather inspiring, maybe awe-inspiring to a certain degree. It's a combination of all my activities in the past coming to this point. If you haven't got that creative outlet, it can all build up inside you, and especially in these times. So there's all that sort of stuff. You just got to be imaginative and understand that everything does have a real creative purpose. It's how you integrate that purpose into your own lifestyle. Where does this path lead me? Stretching into the horizon, I see a glimmer of light on the sea and a pinnacle of rock beckoning me. I wonder of my steps. Do I have any alternative? Can I change from this direction and find me an altered reality? For it surely be that if I stepped off my destiny, I would find it increasingly difficult to understand from whence I came. And is it not so that the sun was born to rise above me and shine the path that only everybody can eventually reach? I look there in the chaos of that monstrous beast in the sea, and I wonder of my sword, should I let it unsheath in my quest to be free, to push the edges of my boundaries ever further afield and to strike down the beast, almost as if I am the hero. Am I the hero? Or am I a fleeing servant? Do I chase after Father Chaos in the maelstrom of his winds? Do I ride the crest of the waves of a tsunami ready to strike? Or do I destroy from within? The spirit that leads me to death.